Hey Now! The Hey Now Howard podcast, first and only podcast dedicated to the king of all media, Howard Stern, and all things related to the Howard Stern Show. I'm Daniel Coyne.
And I'm Tyler Cortad, and today we're catching up on all the latest developments on the Stern Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Hey Now Howard podcast, broadcasting from Los Angeles, California. Do us a favor, hit the 5-star, hit the thumbs up, tell your aunt about us, tell any Stern fan.
Like us, we need the likes.
That's right, we have very few friends as is, so the more friends.
If you don't like this, I'm gonna kill myself.
Things got
too
done
much?
quickly.
Too much? Too much right off the bat?
We took a quick turn on this episode.
Too much?
I used to have a lot of friends back in like the MySpace era, but now not so many. So
we need
hoping
this.
As many listeners as we can get. Click like, comment back. Today we're going to be catching up with the Stern Show, talking about the interviews that we liked, the appearances, the staff fights.
Oh my God, we have a lot to catch up on.
There's a lot to catch up on.
Too much. The first thing that came to my mind, though, and I know it's probably not the most pressing topic, but I probably attribute this to Fred's drops, but soft swinging and Brent's orgy story and the swinging controversy because Shirley does not believe him and how it happened.
So steamy.
So steamy, dude. These drops are the best. So steamy and soft swinging are my two favorite drops at the moment. I love them so much. But to talk about that, Brent and his wife have been trying to swing. Have been soft swinging, if you will, for a long time, trying to go to these swinging clubs, swinging parties, sex parties, and they haven't succeeded in actually swinging with another couple until very recently, or they did, and then this is the follow-up story to that, and Brent gave all the juicy details that were so steamy, and Shuli was there to give the play-by-play, much to Brent's dismay.
Yeah, Brent's kind of becoming like this year's Ronnie was last year. You know, he's kind of becoming the window into the weird things that Howard never experiences, and a lot of us don't, including myself. I'm definitely not into the local swinging scene.
No, I don't get it at all, but it's hilarious.
I mean, he's in New York City. He's got a good-looking wife. I definitely don't doubt it. I think it's kind of a bit.
It's 100% a bit, but it's still a funny bit because I feel like Brent is really. He's not that good of an actor. Pissed. He's definitely pissed.
Right.
Yeah.
And Shirley knows it's a bit, and now it's like popping up in signs and like the WWE.
Oh, I love it.
Like
yeah, you know Shirley loves that shit too. That's so
which
funny.
Is great.
Right.
But I definitely believe him. He has no reason to lie.
Just a side note, real quick. Whenever they're in studio and they're talking, and Brent does this whole orgy story that we'll get into, and like we'll kind of dive into that. But he gets through the whole story, and it's, you know, quote unquote, so steamy. And Howard goes like, "Man, I'd love to know what Ronnie thinks of this. What's Ronnie? I want to know what Ronnie thinks of this." Ronnie comes in and he's Ronald. You know, he's not. He's like totally. He's like, yeah, it's not my. And then, but the thing that made me fucking lose, like I almost wrecked my car over it. And everybody in the studio lost it too. Like Howard actually like broke up and lost it. Is whenever Fred became Ronnie Puppet, and he was like that, but he was like Ronald as the Ronnie Puppet, and he was like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? like Ronnie was like, he wasn't, you know, Ronnie wasn't diving in like they wanted him to. Yeah, he was just, he was just kind of like stepping back. So and then just Fred's. Dude, Fred stepped in, and like Ronnie was being not, you know, Ronnie that they want him to be.
Without Fred, Roddy is not funny at all.
He could be, but Fred fucking took over and just made. Yeah, he's just not funny.
Well, but Howard too.
But Fred fucking took over and made. Oh, I fucking laughed so hard. It was so funny. Bit. Yeah, the Ronnie puppet's the best. But anyway, yeah, Brent's orgy story is I don't know. It's fucking weird because I
think they
I
need
can't
that
get into
staffer, like whether it's Mehmet on Tinder or
the resident
you
sex
got Ronnie
expert.
getting weird. Yeah, they need that someone out there on the streets, like actually doing the thing.
We talk about staying relevant with Howard, like having a staffer that kind of stays relevant in the sex area is important.
Exactly.
You know,
we don't want to hear a bunch of married men.
Sure, exactly.
Not having sex with their wives, or whatever. That's not the best stories.
Yeah, you definitely
I want
need
to hear those stories anyways, but the show kind of brings it out and makes it funny.
Sure, and you need these stories, like the single guys out in New York City and kind of just giving a lay of the land of what it's like to be single as a guy or a girl in New York. Although they really don't have a female perspective on that. I think they used to.
The chick that calls in from Florida once in a while.
Yeah, sure. Who knows how legit that is.
Random stories here and there, but
we both follow her on Instagram now. It's like I don't trust this chick. I don't know.
I don't trust her.
I don't know what's going on here.
Wiring her money.
What's that?
You don't trust her?
No, I mean she's probably just making shit up and calling in. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to believe it to be true.
Looking by chick and she's gonna have some wild stories.
Nah, sure.
Well, we digress.
As we both think about this chick. Maybe she's making it. Maybe not. Either way, Brent's having a fucking hell of a marriage in our life, but it's one that I'm
a good life.
I'm kind of on the Ronnie side of this, where it's like, yeah, that's cool and all. Like, I get it. Like, good for you. And if I'm in a relationship where, that's kind of going on and we want to introduce somebody else into the bedroom, another girl, sure, maybe. But that whole thing, that whole sex party and swinging is a whole scene that I just don't get. And it's wild, and I don't think I could ever be a part of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, do you think it's Brent really... Well, I guess they also talk a lot about there's stuff off the air that you should have seen him bragging about how hot these chicks were, to the staff behind the scenes. So is it more like someone like Brent? He's a Marine. He's more of I'd say like I don't know him obviously, but I'd take him as more of a quieter guy. And is it more him bragging and telling these stories to the staff and then they bring it out in the air, or is it more him telling them that happened and it's like Howard bringing all that out? I mean, obviously he's the best at flushing out a full story and really painting a full picture,
right?
Which can be hilarious in its own right, just how deep of questioning they get into.
Yeah, I don't think Brent tries to exaggerate, but I think he makes believe in his own head, like it is the way it is, and that's how he portrays it to the staff. And whenever he actually talks about it in front of Howard, I don't think he's putting on. But like, if you and I were in this situation, we were to analyze it, I don't know if we would see it the same way that Brent sees it, if that makes any sense. So I think that's why Shuley kind of he saw an opportunity there and he jumped on it, and I think that's what makes that really entertaining.
Now he's kind of seeing the bit out.
He's seeing the bit out, yeah, exactly.
I think he believes it, but he just now the bit's funny that Brent gets pissed about it.
Right. And I don't see any reason to stop, because I don't see. I mean, when you watch the app and you look at the video, Brent is fucking fuming. He's so steamy, and not in the steamy that he's talking about. He's just steaming. Yeah, he's just
a bad like anti-chemistry.
Right.
That works well. Yeah,
and it's funny though. It's funny to see Brent and Ronnie team up on Shuley, because like that happened a couple weeks ago too, where Ronnie came in. And they both teamed up, and they were like, "Shuley, you're the angriest guy on staff. You are so angry." And he's like, and then Shuley's just cracking up. Yeah. So I love Shuley. I mean, she was a comedian. It's right. You're just laughing and having a good time.
And ultimately, it's Howard knows whenever they start talking about this, he's like, "Get Shuley in here."
Yeah,
so he knows.
Rile him up. Yeah, he just wants them to rile him up.
It makes it more interesting.
But that was interesting. That was a really fun topic. I had fun with that. And then there was, oh God, this is more recently, so we'll be kind of all over the place with this podcast as far as trying to catch up. But this happened, the Ralph and Chris Wilding feud.
Yeah. Which
is weird, because I gotta say, Ralph's a fucking weirdo. Ralph's weird. He's weird for this. He's a weirdo for this.
I know that already.
I mean, he's totally weirdo, but like, he's really weird for this. Chris did nothing wrong.
What's the problem with him that he said he talked about things he talked about off air, on air?
It wasn't even. I mean, the way that Chris.
I forget what even the main problem was.
They go. So Chris and Ralph hang out. All right, they're friends, and they go out to dinner and like these places. So Chris was talking to Howard in studio about him and Ralph out to eat, and told the story, and it was very vague, but it was, and it was just about how they were out to eat, and Ralph was kind of a pain in the ass at the restaurant as far as like where they wanted to go, and then once they got to the restaurant, he was kind of a pain in the ass to the waiter or something like that. But very vague. It wasn't anything incriminating. Yeah. It was basically that, and then Ralph all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, that's it. We're no longer friends. Like I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to be friends with you if you can't, keep those types of things off air." Because you're all in it for that. And Chris is like, what the fuck? Like, way worse has been done on this show. Like, and I didn't even think to like it wasn't a gotcha moment. And so Ralph's just being a fucking weirdo. I don't know. But anyway, the thing fucking went on for a long time. It was dumb.
I guess that would be a weird dynamic too, that neither of us have experience of like hanging out with someone and not. It's like Howard talks about being present when he talks about Jerry Seinfeld or himself, how much are you present in the moment and how much are you looking for material. And even like JD's marriage and stuff, like ultimately I can respect where he's coming from a lot, where like he didn't want JD's marriage to be like
the wedding, you mean?
Yeah. Like they did like his bachelor party, and they talked about his wedding and recap, but I think that stemmed a lot from I don't want to make my wedding a whole bit for the show.
Right. No, I agree. I think that's definitely a thing with the staff, is trying to keep things separate and what can go on air, and I think that comes to a lot into play with Jason. Jason's a big,
like, apparently notorious for,
because Jason and Gary got into it. Right, they got into it a couple months ago about the plantains, boss. That was the best.
Yeah, he got super pissed about that.
About the plantains, and Gary freaked out. Even like to go off of that, remember when JD freaked out? They still play that drop of JD losing losing it a little bit. He's like, "Well, I'll go on wherever I fucking want. Will you fucking leave me alone, all right?" And then Robin's always at the end of that clip. She's like, "Wow, oh my." But yeah, that's definitely like. I mean, that's got to be fucking aggravating if you feel like something's private and close, and then somebody goes off and blabs it. Yeah, he'd probably be fucking pissed. Right? But you don't know where to
say a little bit. I guess it depends on the context of what he's getting pissed about. I guess whatever it was set him off. But maybe in Ralph's defense, he's like sitting there thinking, "Oh, I can let my guard down and just have a drink with this dude or whatever, and just like bullshit and not worry about something ending up on the show that's kind of clowning on me."
But then Chris's defense is like, "All right, Ralph, at the same time, like, you literally just told a story to Howard about how I hooked up with this guy, which is way more intimate and way more personal, and I don't give a shit."
Yeah, that's true.
It's like you don't know where to draw the line a lot of times. Point. So there's like, you really don't know what to do with that. I don't know. There's that thing. Real quick to talk about Benji, because Benji was late again.
Yes.
And Howard.
Thin ice.
Oh fuck. And Howard went off. I mean, Howard was a weirdo about it, because he didn't like necessarily lay into Benji like I thought he was. He kind of, which is probably more strategic. He sat back and was like, Benji, is out of my hands now. If Sirius wants to fire you, they're gonna fire you.
Left it up to Marcy Turk.
You never know.
We can't have a podcast without mentioning Marcy Turk.
The Dark Lord looking over the whole thing.
Oh my God, no! But
watch out, like rats.
Maybe Howard is like at that stage where, hey, I just want to host a radio show. I don't want to manage.
You know that he's got a part. Like Benji's been with him for 20 years.
A part for sure, but
Benji's not getting fired.
He's like, I'm not gonna fire you. Like, I wish I wasn't such a pussy. Like, maybe he's just gonna be like, hey, that's not my job anymore.
Yeah, but no, Benji's not leaving or staying on the job without Howard's approval or denial.
I mean, ultimately, he's gonna give the thumbs up or down.
Right. So
he was pissed in the moment.
Yeah, but he definitely he played the whole like hands off thing. Like, it's out of my hands.
They have a 3-day week I mean, they probably work less than 100 days a year.
Right. But Benji does it. So this is what they
200 plus days a year.
Exactly.
250.
This is what they talked about. Like Howard, Fred, Robin, and Benji are the only 4 that have this schedule. That's it.
Right.
Benji has an easier
go to writing meetings.
Benji has an easier schedule than Gary, than Jason.
Just like grandfathered into that. So
you got grandfather.
Do the wrap up.
Doesn't have to do anything. He's got the most and this is what they were talking about. And Howard was kind of laying. It was like you have everything at your fingertips right now. You have everything's so easy, and you just can't be here on time. He was like, I mean, he was like 5 minutes late, but
right.
You know, it's like
but even 5 minutes late, the rest of the staff's probably there at least an hour before the show. So that's really like being an hour and 5 minutes late.
Exactly.
Like you know what I mean. You shouldn't even be. If you're showing up just as the show starts, it's not like you're on time.
If you're showing up as Howard's already on the air, it's like, dude, you're fucked.
Right.
Like, what are you thinking?
Which I can't imagine how much.
I know something's happened, but if you're already, even if like
morning meeting and
right, but honestly, Benji is on the same schedule as Howard, which is like kind of mind-boggling. Like Gary's worked with him forever, and I mean maybe that's by choice or what.
Show 5 days a week.
Yeah, Gary's working.
Probably produces the wrap-up show.
John Hines working. Jason's working. Jason works.
Right.
JG
sure those guys are writing bits, doing calls.
But Benji's got the sweetheart deal, and can't show up on time. And that was their biggest thing. It's like, I
think it's a case of this is like the only job. I'm pretty sure he was like went from like Penn State to like an intern. He was like the oldest intern they ever had.
Yeah. He's like 50
or he enrolled in some online school to get accredited for an internship or something. And I mean, shit, he's been on the show for over 20 years.
Right.
Going on probably 30 years.
Do you think he's undervalued?
Because but I think it's a case of like this is all he's ever known, so he just doesn't. He just takes it as oh shit, I'm a little bit like he's not taking a step back of like we're talking about. Oh wow, look at my schedule. I have a better schedule than 99% of Americans.
Right,
he's probably making good money.
Yeah, you've seen that. You've worked in at companies and ad agencies where you see kids come in and they start their career at that place, and that's all they know. And you see how a little bit like how warped they are with their mindset.
For sure,
you can see that, and I guess that's anybody with any job. If they don't have a frame of reference, it's kind of hard for them to.
All he's known is that he's probably sitting there saying, "Oh," and then he's even said like, "I can't sleep," or the schedule.
Right.
I love one of my favorite times is when Howard was super pissed. It wasn't this time, but one of the previous times where he's like pissed about him going around asking for sleep advice. He's like, he's going around asking for sleep advice. Close your eyes! That's my advice!
He just screams.
When Howard does that mad scream,
right, just loses
the fucking best.
Like the Mad
time.
King. Burn them all!
Close your eyes! That's my sleep advice.
So great.
But, I mean, he's gone through the same routine 100 times about, hey, if you don't fall asleep the first night, then the second night, then if you still don't fall asleep, then just stay up, then you'll definitely fall asleep.
Yeah, that's all bullshit.
I think that's all, Benji doesn't appreciate what he has, and maybe he'll get the axe. I doubt he will, but they'll probably just keep delegating him.
Right.
Like,
I remember one of the punishments.
Office space where eventually he'll just be down in the basement.
Yeah, with a stapler. Yeah. Well,
it wasn't Milton, is it?
Milton.
Milton, yeah.
Milton from Office Space. Yeah. But what else happened? What else are we thinking about? Oh, Fist Fest. Fist Fest.
I know, that's what I
Turn on your fist.
That song is creepy enough that it's your mindset.
I want to dedicate at least 30 seconds to Fist Fest and then move on immediately. It was insane.
I think.
How do you, Daniel?
All time.
How do you feel about ass meat?
There's a lot of things in there that
The term
I wish
ass
that
meat
I
will never
heard,
leave my brain now because of
that I'll
fist
never
fist.
unhear.
Yeah, exactly.
That I wish I did. That I'll take to my grave, unfortunately.
Ugh, disgusting.
Where the guy's talking about feeling another guy's heartbeat.
All right. And that's all we got on Fist Fest. And moving
Don't worry about today's podcast. I've been there before.
Honestly, like, it was to the point where I was like, do I turn this off?
Yeah, they went there.
Do I turn this off? Is this something
it
I need
was
to turn
really tough to make it. I'm not sure if I made it all. I get a little squeamish.
Yeah, you're weird with your
'cause you're my
stomach. You
friend.
always, like...
And I didn't feel the best.
Dude, it was awful.
A little lightheaded, a little woozy in the stomach. That's how
right?
how lightheaded I was. I'm getting lightheaded again.
It's disgusting.
But yeah,
that's how
they
people
went
live.
down to a Fist Fest, and I remember it was in Augusta, Georgia, where they have the Masters. And Wolfie's
What
had
a
a lot of
trooper.
contributed.
What do you
had
think
a lot
Wolfie's-
of contributions throughout the
What's
years.
Wolfie's deal with him? Did they pay him like $100 to go do this
He's a
shit? Or is he
freelancer.
just... But does he get paid?
Probably like
A couple hundred
$100
bucks?
Yeah, I'd say. Pay for his gas.
But I wonder who
$100
pitches
bucks.
what. Like, does he pitch a bunch of weirdo shit for him to do, and you're like, oh, we'll approve this. You can go do that for $500
Yeah, I
bucks.
think so. They probably pay for his travel or whatever. But not much, I'm sure. He's doing it for love of the game.
We should just
He's
pitch
been doing
to-
this for years. I'm sure he started out doing it.
We should just
free.
pitch to do shit out in LA that he doesn't have to come out here for.
Right.
Just be like, hey, save yourself the expense. We're already here.
Yeah.
We'll cover some weird shit here.
West Coast Wolfies.
West Coast Wolfies. West Coast Wolfpack.
Wolf. Wolf. Don't turn your back on the wolf pack.
Hey, Fist Fest 2020, here we come.
That's right.
All right, let's move on to some of the more recent interviews that I thought some of these recent interviews were great, and it's interesting that most of them were second or third time or eighth time interviews that Howard seemed to make new, and he has a gift of doing that. The first one I want to talk about was Dana Carvey, which was
Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey. Dude, I fucking love Dana Carvey. He's a comedic genius.
He's a legend.
He's a legend. He's a comedic genius. And Howard has interviewed him twice now. And this second time, he kind of went a little bit deeper into what I thought. I mean, obviously his impressions are fantastic, but he kind of went a little bit deeper into the Mike Myers relationship, which I thought was super interesting.
Yeah, that was really good.
Right.
And kind of multiple points of their relationship. So, kind of coming together. First, him like walking away from Wayne's World right when they were either about to film it, I think.
Right before they filmed it,
right
because
before they filmed
he was
it.
contributing some things
because
that
he wasn't really part of it.
Yeah,
Wasn't really part of the
he
script.
wrote some things and they kind of took it out, and he was like, you know what, I'm good, I don't
Right.
need it, which is ballsy.
And also him talking about, which I think he talked about in previous interviews, but he went further into the Dr. Evil impression being like his Lorne Michaels.
And it was stolen. Mike Myers fucking stole it. Like,
Right.
I mean, he was kind of being diplomatic a little bit, but Mike Myers stole that and put it in his like that had to be fucking
Irritating.
like irritating, mind boggling. Like,
Especially as probably that time, Dana Carvey's career was pretty much on the downslopes, and Mike Myers
was
like
it was
the hottest comedian in the
skyrocketing,
country.
and here's a character that Dana Carvey created, and Mike Myers took it and now made
What he
millions
did
and millions
say
of
too,
dollars.
though, is he's like Mike Myers' genius was sprinkled all over Austin Powers.
Right.
It wasn't just
Sure.
it wasn't just that thing.
Yeah, but that would drive me fucking crazy. Like,
Right.
you know, that he said that's why, I mean, not why, but that was a large reason he went into therapy and had to work through all that because he
Yeah.
was fucking angry. Like, he
I
was
also
angry in
liked
his
him
career.
talking about like his bombs that he made and just
Yeah.
his decisions. I know in previous interviews they dove further into the Dana Carvey show,
Which was destined to a success you couldn't even imagine in show business, where they had like an all-star team.
Yeah, Louis C.K.,
Right. Bob Odenkirk, I think.
Bob Odenkirk,
Yeah.
Steve Carell,
Right. Colbert?
Colbert. Yeah,
Yeah.
Steve Colbert. And yeah, they just never really came together. There's a good documentary on Hulu, not to pull you away from our fascinating podcast, but
Go watch it
they
later.
made called Too Funny to Fail about the
Dana Copy.
Dana Cobby show. I was going to say Steve Martin. But they didn't dive too far into that this episode, but it talked about his ups and downs of leaving SNL as one of the hottest celebrities or whatever, and then diving into that show that bombed, and the Bill Clinton impression right off the bat, just kind of tanking, and then losing a ton of viewers right off the bat, and being on Fox and trying to carve out a niche there and never really working, and then taking a series of failed movies. So I think it was a good interview of just him opening up as much about his failures as his successes.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting, and I know Howard's obsessed with learning the craft of comedy and people's, whether they might be impressionists or just a good joke craftsman, but Howard's always in tune to finding out what their process is, and he was really great with Dana Carvey in finding out what it takes for him to create a great impression. So I thought that was super interesting to listen to Dana Carvey dive into like what he listens to and how he listens to impressions like music. So whenever he hears somebody's voice, it's like music to him. So like he finds the beats of it and it just the rhythms, and all of a sudden it starts to feel like music, and that's how he can figure it out. That's how he says,
yeah, it was kind of good insight on how to do an impression too.
Yeah,
I kind of noticed that even after the interview and trying to do impressions or listening to people do impressions, it is about picking up a rhythm.
Right. It's the rhythm first before you like try to get an inflection or a voice. And now I thought that was super interesting to hear him talk about,
which he's very good at. I guess certain people are good at different parts of impressions, but yeah, he's the king of figuring out people's rhythm.
Is that, but
sure.
the unsung hero of his impressions are his material to the impressions. They're great,
right?
Like he has great material, and he's a great improviser.
The Beatles talking to each other,
the Beatles talking to each other, and the fact that like Howard could throw a news story at him, and he can do it as Paul McCartney,
right?
It's just incredible. Like I mean, it's. I'm not, I think God forbid I try to do it. Well, John. And he starts to do, just the way he just does that, that little whimsical Paul McCartney voice is the best.
Just nice about everything.
The big orange man, the whoop-de-doo.
He captures his impressions, or the aura of that person well.
And he's the president. Yeah, he did.
I like to find out Hillary's emails. What's an email?
What's an email?
That was good.
Right.
Speaking of impressions, I was gonna say, have you heard the person when Jim Meyer calls in, the head of Sirius, with his impression?
No.
So he called in.
But no, I can't think of it.
He called in when Mehmet pitched his pixelated dildo idea.
Oh yeah.
And I just thought it was one of the better personalities that calls in. He's a genius. He's a Da Vinci.
What staffer is that, you think?
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask you. I'm not sure who it is. I don't think it's anyone we know.
Is it like the guy who does
like
Lump?
It might be.
His name's like Mike something. Mike. I can't think of his name. But the guy who does Lump is he does a lot of those. But Steve Nowicki can really change his voice really well.
Yeah, he does a lot.
He does a lot now.
He does a ton, and then
his Alex Jones, man,
Chris Wilding does a ton,
right? But his Steve Nowicki's Alex Jones is really taken off. Like the fact that Alex Jones keeps doing shows and including the impression of it is so great to me. I love it.
Yeah, he's got that impression down perfect.
Right.
I miss more Sal's dad impression. We need more of that from Nowicki.
You had 1, 2, and the paper towels in the water. It doesn't make any sense.
Let's see, there's 14 planets, 12 continents, minus carry the 2, 17. Another note I have here, and I kind of wish this sometimes from Sour Shoes. And they touched on this, actually. Dana Carvey touched on this, and Sal does a terrible one. But I want better Howard impressionists.
None.
We found some kid on Instagram that does them really well.
Yeah.
This kid in New York. And he actually does them really well. If that kid called in, he would probably get on air.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody took notice of him.
I'm sure
he doesn't have a lot of followers. How do we find him? Like he only has like 1,000 followers or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But he's incredible. He's really good.
I think I found him through his Stern impression. But anyways, there's not a lot of good Stern impressionists out there.
No.
And I'm wondering if he doesn't want that, which I don't think he does necessarily, especially if the content isn't going to be super flattering towards him or joking, because I don't think he's into like roasting himself as much as he used to be. But I don't think it's an overly difficult impression, but I mean, he'll let Sal do it on like prank calls and stuff. But I mean, come on, Sour Shoes. Dude, Sour Shoes could have that down in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're telling me Howard's, I mean, come on, dude. First of all, I listen to clips from Mad Dog Russo, which I've never really heard him besides when he got interviewed by Howard.
Yeah. And
it almost sounded like he was doing a Sour Shoes impression of himself. It was so good that you almost thought it was like Sour. It was crazy. Unbelievable.
That's wild.
And you can't tell me that Sour couldn't do Howard's voice down pat if he wanted to.
I don't know. Sour doesn't have a good... Howard's hard. I think it's harder than you think, man. Like, I don't know, like, because no one can do it. Like, it's... Even, like, impression. Like, you had to think that... Yeah, bring up that kid who's so good. He kind of sounds like Alan Alda a little bit, but I think he's great.
Who?
Alan Alda, the actor.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, you do. You'll know him if you hear him. He sounds like this kid. But somebody did him on Saturday Night Live. Michael McKean did him on Saturday Night Live whenever Adam Sandler played Baba Booey. And he did okay. But how
that was years ago.
Sure, that was like in the early 90s or late 80s. No, early 90s. But I don't think his voice is easy to do. I think it's hard. But did you find that guy? Because he's good. One of the few ones that are good.
Yeah, this kid's handle on Instagram is Matterday Night Live. So go follow him. He's an awesome impressionist. But here's a little bit of his Howard Stern.
1954 is when Howard Stern was born. I just wanted to do a quick little happy birthday message. Howard Stern, happy birthday from Howard Stern, you know. You're such a great personality on the radio. You just know how to nail down the guests, right? They don't want to talk about something, doesn't matter. They're on Stern, they're going to address it, right? If there's some romance, some secret girlfriend or boyfriend, you're going to just drill it out of the person. I wanted to say thank you so much for the amazing voice and hilarity and laughs that you provided your audience over the years with, and you're just so great. I mean, you're fantastic. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon one day, man. Okay.
Pretty good.
I mean, that was pretty good. You really can't find... I mean, nobody really does one, so it's hard to compare it to anybody, but that's pretty fucking good, right?
Yeah. I think more people could, but he doesn't want it, but...
Yeah, we could find it if people
Sour.
were doing it.
Come on, let's down, Sour.
Sour, I want you to go to jail for this.
Sour.
Shit, what else? Okay, so a couple more interviews and we'll wrap this thing up. Adam Carolla.
Let's talk about Cameo.
Oh. Damn.
Bobo.
You know, I went to go get Daniel a Cameo just for fun. Turns out I can't fucking afford one because High Pitch Eric charges so damn much. Are you kidding me? High Pitch Eric charges just as much as Brett Favre. Favre. One of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And High Pitch Eric are charging the same amount for a cameo.
I was saying to Tyler that they were making fun of Bobo for making like 17-minute cameos, but if I paid that money, I would love a 17-minute cameo.
I wouldn't expect anything less than a 17-minute cameo, and I'll edit it down myself.
Where he just goes off on God knows what rant about being a post office worker for years.
Oh my God, saying racist shit. Record. He said a racist comment on there, and instead of just erasing it and re-recording it, kept it in and just... He's an idiot. He's an idiot. He just says, whoops, don't pay attention to that. Yeah. And just keeps on recording. Like, that. Dude, you have the ability to just re-record. You're an idiot. He's an idiot. And he's the best.
He's one of my favorite callers.
This whole cameo fiasco is hilarious, though. These guys are making more money than us.
Whose cameo would you buy if you were to buy it? If they were all equal price, who would you buy?
Oh. Bobo cameo. Probably be...
You're getting the
'Cause
best
he's-
bang for your buck.
He seems to just kind of just go off script and do his own thing. High pitch will say whatever you write, so that could be interesting too. So you could write anything ridiculous, like just the most insane message of all time, and High Pitch will read it back and not think anything of it.
Was it the one for like Mike Tits or something?
Mike Tits.
The simplest.
You know who I would love to get a cameo from, and he's no longer with us, is, I know you're going to think I'm going to say High Pitch Eric. Or I'm sorry, Eric the actor. But it's actually Riley Martin. I would love a cameo from Riley Martin.
Well, I send you my tribute to Riley on your birthday.
That's
each year,
right.
including this year. I didn't forget.
And don't forget,
Tell the
Hugh
audience.
Jessel. Willie Fistagash.
Ethan Twats. There's always one in there. Even if I've heard it 20 times,
It'll get me every single time. I love it. Oh, Riley Martin was the best. Daniel on my birthday sends me a Biavian happy birthday message. I can only
un talking Tore.
Coneta Takanori. It's the best song ever.
Rest in peace, Riley. If he's up there with the Biavian somewhere.
We could only be so lucky.
If High Pitch and Bobo are off the board, I'm going to go with Tan Mom. Would be an awesome cameo because you don't know what the hell you're going to end up with. And it'd probably be better if you end up with
Let's cut to the
madness. You probably just get your name wrong. Well, Jason.
It's
Who's
Daniel.
Jason?
Daniel.
Right. Yeah, that would be awesome to get a personal message from Tan Mom.
Tan Mom would be good.
And I know they did that bit where they called back as the little kid getting his help from his homework from Tan Mom, and she just holds no responsibility for giving all the wrong answers to his homework.
Yeah. Oh God. All right. Oh God. One more thing we gotta talk about before we forget is that's happened in the last few weeks is this High Register Sean.
Oh,
That's
instant classic.
Instant whackbacker, instant classic. This guy's the best.
Instant everything.
Oh man, you know
he called in back in the day.
Yeah,
but now he's picking back up steam and God bless him.
I really love people that can call in with a voice like that, and then it just doesn't even get commented on half the time. Like, I mean, this guy has got a voice, and I'm not gonna try to imitate it.
Totally straight.
Just play it straight and just listen to what the guy, because what the guy is saying is actually more insane than his voice effect. Like it's actually out of control. But he believes in dogmen. And he thinks that the dog man was buried in his backyard, and it's a government cover-up, and it's all a bunch of conspiracies.
Well, he was digging through feces in his backyard and saw
scat, I think is what he called it.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I know.
And saw animal bones in there, so naturally it must be a dog man.
I love it. I love High Register Sean. That's been fun for the last couple
love
weeks.
Him just being featured for like an hour on the show.
Yeah,
just really getting.
They gave him a full hour of the
life.
Yeah.
If his kids believe in this, it really shows you that anyone can be interesting,
right?
With the proper interviewer.
Ooh, speaking of people that are interesting, Howard had a couple guests on besides Dana Carvey that were repeat guests, but for some reason I was just as interested in these interviews as I was in the first round. Adam Carolla is definitely one of them. He's been on the show many, many times, but I thought he was great. I thought he was really, really funny.
Yeah, he always does really well, and him in his own right, he's kind of huge. He's
right.
Has a massive audience, and he kind of downplays that, which is cool. But yeah, he's seen it all. He kind of reflect on that. He was like a carpenter and a foreman, all this stuff, and being on the Man Show and being a writer on multiple shows, and now coming full circle and having this massive audience as a podcast. And he's always just a funny guy to just have and just comment on what's going on and just can kind of riff on whatever topic and just a naturally funny dude.
Very funny. He's very witty. I'm always intimidated when I hear somebody like him on the radio because how to say something. It's just like the quickness of Adam Carolla is remarkable. He's super quick with a joke and a light up your smoke. No, he's great. I was really impressed with him as a Stern Show guest, just because people have been on that couch before. It's like, how many times can you be on that couch and go through the same process and have Howard interview you and make it still be interesting and topical and funny? He didn't miss a beat. I thought it was great. Talking about how Howard influenced him and Jimmy whenever they first started doing Crank Anchors was interesting, because Howard was, not to say an innovator in any way as far as prank calls, but definitely kept that spirit alive even whenever the art of that was kind of dying out.
Yeah,
and he still does. I think it's great. It's still such a funny concept, a funny medium, and yeah, Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel took that and made it into an entire show. I thought that was a great way to incorporate Howard's innovativeness into their own career.
Something that did make me sad about that is hearing him talk about how on the modern version of Crank Yankers they don't record together, and that in the original concepts of the show it was just them making each other laugh, making genuine prank calls,
sure,
just being friends. So that kind of made me sad. Now
Yeah.
they're both like famous, and they just kind of like literally call it in.
Yeah, right. That's where that term came from. Just throwing it in. You ever watch? There's a movie Funny. I mean, it's totally off subject, but there's a movie Funny People with Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of that is real home videos of Adam Sandler and Judd Apatow, who directed it, when they were in their 20s, living together, making prank phone calls. It's the very beginning of the film.
They're playing the audio
It's the
of it,
fuck.
yeah.
Like, honestly, it warms my heart more than anything. It's just it's
Hearing
pretty
them
much
crack
us.
up.
A couple of idiots making each other laugh and cracking each other up because they're just making phony phone calls. Phony phone calls. I mean, it's sad to say that Dan and I were in our mid-20s still making phony phone calls just for the amusement of ourselves.
I say mid-20s as if it wasn't.
I was like late
couple
20s.
months
Yeah. About to do one right now. But they're still funny to me, and I just thought that was cool.
There's something pure joy about a good prank call.
A good prank call is great, especially if, it's all.
the Stern Show's masters of it,
right? But yeah, that was a great interview. Who else did he have on recently? He had Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. That was a good.
That was cool.
And
they've
had both of them
two
on.
people in at
Right.
the same time and have two different, completely different dynamics.
He was obsessed with Charlize, man. You could just he could not get off the subject that she was that beautiful. It was almost every two questions came back to Charlize, you're the most beautiful woman in the world.
Right.
I always wonder
who's hotter.
Right. Who's he wouldn't get off it to the point where I was I wonder if that was one of those ones where Beth is hey, you could have eased up a little bit, pal. Because I remember at the end of the interview, I did think it was a great interview, and maybe I was thinking too much into it, but I remember thinking I was did he go a little too far? Too much with the how hot she is and
Right.
her looks, but I don't know.
Yeah. It was cool to see, and again, it's kind of two completely different dynamics, completely different backgrounds. Charlize Theron was the Hollywood A-lister, now venturing into more she's probably done comedy before, but for her to be on with Seth Rogen with a completely different background, and obviously didn't make his way there by his looks, or it was
Right.
more of a comedy background, but it worked well, and maybe that's what they were going for in plugging the movie, to show people that they had a chemistry, but
Didn't
I
work,
don't often
unfortunately.
remember. Yeah, I'm sure.
No, the movie fucking didn't make any
his
money.
Movies aren't the best track record.
I mean, I love his movies. Personally, I do like Seth Rogen movies a lot. I really do like.
The early ones, but he's put out a lot of turds.
Like what? What didn't you like?
Any of them. Neighbors.
I like Neighbors.
Oh, that was awful.
I liked it. It's funny. Funny.
I didn't remember. I don't know what he's in. Pull up his IMDb. It'll be a bunch of turds.
Nah, I like him. I'll tell you, like, I like
that
them all.
animated movie was a flop.
That didn't do well. I actually wasn't crazy about that, but I don't know. I like most Seth Rogen movies.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
But I was just saying, like, it didn't do well as far as box office concerned. Like, it didn't.
Well, his movies are like cheap to make, and they make a good profit. I mean, I'm not knocking him. He's super successful and
right.
way more talented than I am. But I can only take his character for the first 20 movies.
Do you like This Is the End?
30 more. That was a good one. I'd say that was his last good one.
I like This Is the End. That's probably like one of my favorite comedies that's come out in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it was good.
What's this podcast about? Oh, yeah, the Howard.
I think about Seth Rogen.
The Seth Rogen. All right, guys, thanks for listening to the Seth Rogen podcast.
Seth Green. All right, but we digress.
Let's wrap up this catching up on the Stern Show. There's obviously a lot more that we've left out as far as catching up on the Stern Show, but we'll pick up on that in another future podcast. But thank you for listening to this episode.
Click 5 stars, click the thumbs up. That'll help us share this content to more Stern fans. For now, I'm Daniel Coyne.
And I'm Tyler Cortad. Thanks again for listening. Bye for now.
Hit him with a high!